So I'd like to welcome everyone to the Transform Your Wellness podcast. I'm Karin Hagberg. I'm a life wellness, fitness and mindset coach. And I help people myself to transform their wellness and life and help them create more balanced, ultimate wellness and a life they really love. And I myself have always been very, very interested in people, and particularly people who have gone through really life-changing events. And I would say most of us have at some point in life gone through some life-changing events, such as divorce or illness or trauma or any challenge in life. And then I'm really, really interested to hear how people have kind of turned the life around and moved forward from there. People who have found strength within, perhaps that strength they didn't really know they had. I myself, I call that the warrior within. And then these people have managed to kind of turn it into something bigger and better and just decided to move forward. So I've got a very special guest here today with me, and her name is Heidi van Zandt. You have to help me if I didn't pronounce that right, but as I understand, Heidi, you are a natural wellness educator and you work at Inspired Living for Women. Is that correct? Have I got the name correct? And your
well, my business is actually Health and Vitality Zone.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your background.
Okay. Do you want me to start kind of with my story and with my my cancer stuff, or kind of before that? So I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 50, shortly after my 50th birthday. And before that, I really thought I was a healthy person. I mean, I wasn't overweight. I exercised. I ate what I thought at that time was a pretty good diet and pretty healthy lifestyle. I mean, I had a lot of stress at work, but it's pretty typical for a lot of people. And so my diagnosis came as kind of a shock to me. And at first, like most people, when you're told you have cancer, this is what I assume anyway, most people would feel, is that you're scared. Cancer kills people. So there's all these thoughts going through your head. And after I got over that, talking to people, and just after a short period of time, I'm like, okay, I have breast cancer. I just wanted my caregivers, my surgeon, and then the oncologist to tell me what to, this is what you need to do. This is what the procedures are going to be and what your treatment regimen is going to be. And I'm like, yep, I'm just going to do all these things and I'm going to be fine. I just decided in my own mind that I was going to be fine. And during the whole thing, I just had a lumpectomy, so not very invasive, but I did have a series of 6 chemotherapy treatments that were 3 weeks apart. And then I had 25 days of radiation also. And during that whole time, I tried to keep my life as normal as possible. I continued to work. I owned my own business. I had owned a retail floral shop, and I continued to go into work. There were days like a day after my treatment when I would start feeling poorly. I still went into work, but I'd go home early. So I kept working. I continued to exercise. I went on vacation. We had a vacation planned to Moab, Utah, that we had booked everything before I was diagnosed, and my doctor let me go. And just another kind of quick thing, but funny story is that we were flying out, and we had, I think we flew into Denver, and we had to make a connecting flight, and that did not happen. And so we slept on the floor in the airport, in the Denver airport. And I'm laying there on the floor thinking, here I am, I've got breast cancer. I've had surgery and chemotherapy, and I'm laying on the floor in an airport. But I tried to be as normal as possible, and I got through it. And then that's when I made some pretty significant lifestyle changes, was after that.
So Heidi, how long ago was this when you when you
Oh,
got that
yeah. So
diagnosis?
I'm going to be 55 this year. So it was almost 5 years ago. My surgery was in the summer of 2016.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that would have been a big shock for you to get that message. And as you say, for everyone that get that message, it must be really confronting at that time. Yeah.
One thing that I would mention also when it comes to any type of illness is I encourage people to really be in touch with their body, because I do monthly self breast exams, and I found I'm not going to call it a lump because I've told people that's not really the consistency that it was like, but I found that the end of January, and I did not go to the doctor until May, because I kept thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I'm healthy. It's going to go away. I'm too busy at work. I can't take the time to make an appointment and go to the doctor. And it's like, no, you need to take care of those things. And so it's important to be in tune with, your physical and emotional self as well.
Yeah. And when you say be in tune with your body, what would be a suggestion? How would you describe that if you were to kind of explain that to women now? How do you feel you can become more connected to your body?
So I think not ignoring things that you notice, like say you have a chronic pain that doesn't seem to go away, or something that just doesn't seem right and it, continues. And if you do find something somewhere that just, isn't as it should be and persists, it's worth it to go get it checked out. And that doesn't mean that you need to be worried all the time about things, because I will say after going through cancer, like every time I got a little type of pain here or there, something like, oh my gosh, is it the cancer back? And I think that's natural too, because I've connected with some other breast cancer survivors in the past 5 years, and I think everybody's kind of similar, and the passage of time helps with that. But definitely don't let things go if you have an inkling or if you feel that there might be something that's not quite right, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, we live in such a fast-paced world now, don't we? And
Yes.
I speak to many women, and I feel that fast-paced world kind of distracts us a little bit from connecting with ourselves. Would you agree with that just that fast world makes us a little bit disconnected at times?
I totally agree. And I think self-care is really important. And with that is kind of that whole self-awareness and mindfulness, and to kind of maybe step back and look at your life and yourself kind of from the outside looking in, and do an analysis, like how much stress do you have in your life? And do you have a way to alleviate some of that? I mean, stress is natural and everybody's going to have some, but to be aware, like, do you have an overabundance? And, what do you really eat? And if you're not sure, track it and write it down. Do you really drink enough water and get enough exercise? And, again, do things that you enjoy, having fun and laughter and engaging in activities that you find, to be fun. And sometimes I think we are so busy that you almost need to write all that stuff on your schedule, because if you don't set aside time to do it, then you might not. And they're all very important things to our overall, wellness. Meditation is good. I mean, yoga, massage, all of those kind of things. And you need to do things that you like to do, or that will help you relax and self-reflect and everything. Reading, I mean, podcasts, we're all very busy, but there also are a lot of resources for us that maybe weren't there, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, there's definitely no lack of resources, are there? There's absolutely an abundance of things you can do. But what I feel too, a lot of people, they kind of think they are doing all the things that are, self-care activities. But in fact, are they doing it, or are they thinking they're doing it? Or they may have, decided they're going to sign up for the gym, and they have good intentions, but intentions are fantastic, but they got to be joined with actions, aren't they? And I feel too that a lot of women sometimes don't allow themselves, and maybe that comes down to just a lack of self-love, allowing themselves to take the time to, do those things, as you say, that you really, really do enjoy, because that's what it's about. It's not just about doing things for the sake of doing them, but really enjoy doing them. But then there's obviously other things like, we got to be honest with ourselves. What do we put in our mouths? Do we go out and get some fresh air, or and do we put it on our schedule and actually do it? I obviously see a lot of clients myself, and I hear a lot of people saying, yes, I'm going to do it, or I'll try to. But they struggle to seem to get to the point, to actually start doing it. So what would you say to women that kind of think they are doing it, but they haven't actually started yet? What would you say to someone like that?
So a couple different things. Tracking, like I had mentioned before, is really important. Write it down, because then you have a visual and you can see, oh, what am I doing or what am I not doing? Being part of a community can also be beneficial, and that can be as simple as a Facebook group. I mean, I have a couple of groups on Facebook. One of them is a fitness group, and every month we come up with a different challenge, and people, post about it, and they get encouragement, and so that's helpful. And accountability is huge, because if you say you want to start an exercise routine and you tell somebody about it, then they can check up on you, and you might feel bad if you have to keep telling them that you're not doing what you said you did. Or find somebody to exercise with. And again, make an appointment, with somebody else, and you're more likely to do it if you're not doing it alone. And I'm definitely an independent person, and I've always thought I liked to do everything like by myself, but I don't think that that's really helpful and beneficial. I think you do better when you work in conjunction and are in community with other people. So those are some of the things that I would recommend that people do. And then once you get into a new habit, I mean, consistency is the key also. So you have to get started, and then you have to be consistent. And I think being realistic with your goals and expectations is also important. I mean, if you're starting to exercise, you don't exercise now, and you think you're going to go out and run a mile, well, that probably isn't going to happen. And then if you can't do it, are you going to stop altogether? It's better to say, okay, I'm going to first start out walking a certain distance, and then maybe I'll do a little walking, a little running, a little walking. You know what I mean? So you build up. And that way it's slow and over time. And then the other thing that I don't think we're very good at is celebrating when we do things that are good. So say, again, that you decide you want to exercise and you make it through a week of, whatever you decided you were going to do, like celebrate that and maybe treat yourself to something. And it could be, I don't know, a nice coffee out, or cappuccino, or, what I mean? Or some flowers or something. It doesn't have to be like this big expensive thing, but I think people need to celebrate themselves more. I think we're it's easier for us to be hard on ourselves and judge the negative things, and not celebrate when we do something that's good and beneficial for ourselves.
Absolutely. So many good things you said there. The first thing I think is that, because I told you just before we had started this podcast, is that I've just come from teaching an exercise group in a small coastal town here. And I've done that for many, many years. And what I love doing is bringing a group of people together And you said the social aspect is so important. So any workshops or any group work, I think, or any being part of a sporting club or Facebook community is incredibly valuable, because, you know, we're meant to interact, and I see when I do that exercise class that they get as much from it socially, emotionally, and mentally too. You know, they walk away and they feel like they've connected. It's so important. And I think that's really important, that we remember these days, that if we can't see each other in person, we need to connect. We need to find other ways of doing it as well. If that is a Facebook group, which can work really, really well. And you also tapped into accountability, which is obviously incredibly important. You know, I have had people in the class saying to the other person next to, "Oh, you weren't here last week. Are you all right? Were you all right?" You know, so they check in on each other and see how they're going. So that is absolutely important. And then, as you said, that step of being able to celebrate our successes and because we reach milestones, and it's important to acknowledge that. And again, I think that comes down to just allowing ourselves to celebrate the successes. We deserve that, and we can do that with, as you say, a bunch of flowers, or, you know, some kind of acknowledgement, maybe go and have a nice treatment or something like that. Definitely important. And then the journey continues.
I think the whole, like you said, the community of the camaraderie and the support that you get when you're in a group, I think is very beneficial for people. And like you said, then they kind of check up on each other and look out for one another, and it's a sense of belonging and caring, and those are they're great for the spirit.
Absolutely. It's so important. And that actually brings memories back to me where it was probably a couple of years ago. Time goes so quick, but I've obviously seen people's journey through all the 20 years I've been teaching down in that area, which is pretty extraordinary. It's a long time. But I've had people falling sick, you know, and I just remember this woman that came in one day and she looked into my eyes and she said, "Karin, you know, I've just been diagnosed with cancer." She had in her intestines cancer, in her gut, and we had a little chat, and I said, "Now you've got two choices, you know. You can either, it's how you look at it, basically. You know, you can look forward, you can move forward, or you can, you know, just basically focus on the problem, or you can focus on what you can do." And she definitely made a decision, and she came and rocked up every week. And it was incredible how everyone supported her and how we were there for her during her cancer journey, up right until the point I remember it was 3 weeks. She came in and she just looked at me, and I could see in her eyes that, you know, I just felt this could very well be her last class. And 3 weeks after, she actually passed away. And but she had the support there, and I can even remember that one of the people in the class that actually spoke to her just before she passed, that she was kind of joking around, you know, about the classes and how good they'd been, and that was sort of a life savior for her to keep going and being positive. And she was kind of making jokes before. And
so that made me think of a couple other things. From a perspective also when I had cancer, is that little things that people do can make a big difference. I mean, I got a lot of cards in the mail. You know, these days we don't get a lot of mail. So just, you know, kind words, thoughtful gestures. I do belong to a church, and my church members were, praying for me, but I didn't find out until after, like, really the extent that some of those people, were going to for me, that that I didn't even realize. And then the other part of it was that, again, once I came to the realization that I had cancer and, here's what I've got to do, here's my treatment, I actually had feelings of gratitude because I knew a couple other women who were diagnosed with cancer around the same time as me. One of them had pancreatic cancer and the other one had brain cancer. And I was grateful because I'm like, I have breast cancer and what I have is very curable. And I just knew with conviction, I knew that I was going to be okay. And so I had these feelings of gratitude. I was thankful. I'm like, things could be so much worse because I firmly believe that everybody has things that happen in their lives. And I thought, here's me, I've got this, but I have a treatment regimen, I'm going to be okay. I thought I could have been in an accident and killed. Or I could have these other kind of cancers. And both of those women who I knew fairly well, they were dead within a year. And I'm like, here I am, and I'm still here. I mean, how wonderful is that? And I knew it was for a purpose, that I got it and that I was going to be okay and that I'm here today. I firmly believe that.
And I'm sure that, anyone that's gone through challenges, whatever that is, it makes us more grateful, doesn't it? It makes us appreciate things.
And it's like you said, it's kind of a choice. I mean, I decided that I was going to be positive and that I was going to get through it and that I wasn't going to let it get me down. And that truly is a choice. I mean, I could have sat back and said, poor me, I got cancer, why me? And I didn't feel like that at all. And I'm not going to say if people do that, that's wrong. I mean, everybody is different, but I believe that having a positive attitude also helped me and was very beneficial in my journey and my recovery. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, and we always got those two choices, haven't we? How we look at life. And I definitely think myself, whenever I have days where I feel down, and that's when I bring the gratitude in to shift my focus. And I have the choice then of staying, feeling, down, or I can decide to shift it in some ways. And I can honestly say through my challenges I've gone through in life, that actually exercise to me has been, I often say, to me, that's been a life savior. And what I mean with that is that it's actually kind of been so good for my emotional state than anything. So anytime I move the body, and I see that in classes when people done classes with me, that they come in and they you can feel their energy is really low. They're not looking very happy. But then after there's some sort of shift. And so, isn't it fantastic how movement can shift our emotional state too?
Yes, exercise is really good for your emotions and your mindset. I exercise in the morning, and when I go out, it's like, just for me, it's stress relief, and it puts you in I think in a whole different frame of mind. I think exercise is extremely important for emotional well-being, definitely.
And some people, again, have got those good intentions. They say they don't exercise at the moment, but they'd like to start. But sometimes there's, I guess, shall I say, excuses. There's always things. Life happens, and all these things in their life props up, so they don't find their time or whatever for exercise. What would you say to women that kind of puts it off and, make other things come in the way in front of actually making them put aside time to do some exercise, what would you say to those
So
women?
I would say, and this might sound a little harsh, but I believe this, if something is truly important to you, you'll find the time for it. I believe that really is an excuse, because you don't have to have an hour, 15 minutes. You can walk a mile in 15 or 20 minutes. In the grand scheme of things and in your day, you can find that time if you want to. And I'm going to mention a book, because this, have you ever, do you know Mel Robbins? Most people know who Mel Robbins is. Have you heard of her?
Yes.
Wrote the 5-second rule.
It's fantastic.
So that is a great book that really talks a lot about overcoming procrastination and how our minds work, that we can talk ourselves out of anything in 5 minutes. Or I mean, 5 seconds, sorry, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. So, if you need to set your alarm 15 minutes earlier so you can get up and go for a walk, or, you can find the time to exercise if it's truly important for you. And if you think about it, just go and do it before you talk yourself out of it, because our minds want to keep us comfortable, and we have to control what they do, or what it does, I guess. And you just have to go and do it. And again, if it's important to you, you'll find the time. And exercise should be important. It's one of those things, the more you do it, the better you'll feel and the more you'll want to do it.
That's right. When it comes to the body, I say to people to move the body, because the body is obviously meant to move. To me, that's a non-negotiable thing. That is, it's not a question is if I've got time or not. That's got to be part of my schedule, just as me having to put some food in my mouth to survive.
I agree with this.
So it is to move the body. So if people can kind of shift there, it's not a luxury, or it's not something that some people just do. It's something that the human body needs movement. So that's non-negotiable. So once we can all agree with that, then when it comes to this, I love Mel Robbins, this with a 5-second rule. I have always kind of, I think, had that in me naturally. To explain it a little bit, I have been an international sports person. I used to row on international level, and some people say to me that, well, but it's so easy, you're so motivated, you're so inspired, Karin. And I go, well, it's not easy. Do you think it's easy for me to just get up in the morning? But the thing is, I just make a decision, I put it in my calendar, and that's not a question, I do it. And the thing is, once you just do it, it's actually just do it is my favorite kind of saying. I say, just do it. And then after you just do it, then you assess how you feel after that. And it's also about adjusting your exercise to how you feel in the moment. And I think as a yogi, and particularly yogis or people that are into Pilates, mindful exercise is that you really kind of tune into your body on a daily basis. It's like you turn up to your mat, because it's a practice. It's not the final, it's a practice. So we turn up and we do our practice, and we adjust it to how our body feels. But we do turn up. There's not, even if, like, I remember going to this special one-on-one yoga class with this yoga teacher, and he always were really nurturing. And if any of the women were menstruating, they were still coming, but he propped them up in lovely positions there with blankets and really nurtured them. And if that meant that they were doing that the whole hour, the suggested poses for when they were menstruating, that was what they were doing. Everyone else were doing a harder practice. So it was about adjusting. So I think that I've learned in life through this being competitive competitive on a high level in sport, that, it's not always fun. We're not always jumping out of bed. You can imagine the amount of hours of training. It's very much comes down to just the mindset and a decision to, okay, it's time to, that's my time to move my body, and that's when I do it. And if a person hasn't perhaps developed that skill, because I think that's just a skill to develop. It's like any other muscle. It's the mind muscle, deciding that we're going to do that. We made a decision, and then it's just turning up. Then it's just a matter of practicing that a little bit. Yeah,
I agree. And I think routine is really important. It might seem very rigid and regimented to people, but I believe that it's better for us if we have like set routines. Like, again, I mean, I get up at 5:05, 5 days a week. And even, I mean, maybe not quite that early on Saturday, but still fairly early. And that's when I exercise, because that's what works for me. But it's a routine. I mean, I do that, and I do it every week. Now, like you said, some days I don't always feel like it. Some days my workout maybe isn't as intense or as long, but I still do it. And I evaluate when I get up, or usually I think about it the night before. I think that helps too. If you're a morning person and going to exercise in the morning, to think about the night before and have a plan as to what you're going to do. And even maybe lay your clothes out or something, so that or have your gym bag packed so that you're all ready and you just get up and boom, you just go. And it's very beneficial too, if you have someone in your family, a spouse or a partner or someone who will do it along with you, because again, then you have the accountability, and then you're both doing it together. Or even at least if you get up at the same time, that can be, I think, helpful as well. But routine, Monday through Friday, at least, like, have a routine. I get up, I do this, then I do that, then I do that, then I do that, and do the same thing every single day. And then it just becomes habit, and you don't even really think about it anymore. You just do it. It's what you do.
And I feel like anyone that's been involved in sport, I was reflecting on this earlier this week, how valuable it is and what tools we actually get given to us without even realizing that we can bring into other areas of our life. Like you say, routine. You have to practice a certain thing a certain amount of time until you become good at that, and then you move on to the next, and that then we can bring into our businesses, can't we? Using that skill is sport and being part of that is extremely beneficial, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think whether it's exercise or trying to eat differently, I mean, you mentioned mindset a couple of times, and that's so true. I mean, we just have to will ourselves and tell ourselves, I'm going to do it. I can do it. I'm able to do it. I am going to do it. So that you just do and start slowly with whatever it is. You start slowly and you build up as you go. Yeah,
absolutely. It all starts in our mind, isn't it? And sometimes I think that some people believe that they have got a helpful mindset, but perhaps they don't, once they really start to listen to what they actually say to themselves, as well as when they talk to other people. Because I work with the mind a lot, I listen to people a lot, and it reveals a lot about if it's going to be beneficial for them or helpful for them, or if it's going to kind of go against them, because it's really, really powerful. So very important, obviously, to address that part if you're going to change, and bringing that back to your story of your cancer journey. Have you found that your mindset are different now to before?
Very much so. during that whole time of treatment and everything, it made me really think about my life and assess my life and where I was and where I was going, and created an awareness that I did not have before. And that has been great for me. And I will say I never really worked on personal development before that. And I'm not sure how that part really happened. I mean, I know how I started with the diet and a lot of like natural wellness types of things, because those were specific events that happened shortly after I finished treatment. But I just started reading books, and I know I pretty much read like one right after the other about all sorts of things, but mindfulness and self-evaluation and language that we use for ourselves and how we speak. And just that whole part is totally different and new for me. And, you know, it helped me realize that I had a lot of stress and didn't really deal with it very well. And it made me realize it was very difficult on myself, and, you know, a perfectionist, and just a bunch of different qualities that, not that they were bad, but that didn't really serve me well or my health. So that is huge. And I think personal development, self-awareness, whatever you want to call it, I think that is extremely important. And if people don't like to read, I mean, there's podcasts and YouTube videos. You just have to find somebody that kind of resonates with you, or that you like, you know, their message or whatever. And just start listening and reading, because it really can have an impact on your life and how you feel about yourself and how you interact with people, and just, yeah, all sorts of things. I can't emphasize that part of health enough.
Mm-hmm.
Really important.
Yeah.
Even the belief that you can start something and complete it and do it.
Yeah. And it sounds like too, what came to me, it sounds like you don't sweat the small stuff now.
Not anymore. I mean, I used to let, you know, some type of thing, like say, I don't know, in the morning at breakfast, I dropped something and it broke, or I spilled something, like that could ruin my whole day. And it's like, oh my gosh, like it's ridiculous. You know, like, why worry about that stuff? I don't worry about much anymore. It's like, it doesn't serve me.
It's interesting,
like,
isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're saying that, I think I'm very different now to what I used to be. It's like material things are really, it's really not that important to me, although I really appreciate them. I really appreciate having nice things around, but I definitely have no emotional attachment. So as you say, if I drop a plate, I go, well, it's happened and it's nothing I can do about it. And it's not the end of the world. And I really, to me, health and wellness obviously very, very important. I think that's, you know, if we don't have that, what do we have really? If we don't have health and wellness, and talking about wellness, I mean, wellness is obviously a very, very big topic, but in terms of wellness, what would your definition to wellness be? If someone asked you, you know, Heidi, what is wellness to you? What would you say?
I think it is being deliberate about the choices that you make, and being proactive about that, so that you feel good. Because wellness to me is kind of a body, mind, and spirit thing. And I believe that for the most part, we're in control of that. And that it's the decisions we make that determine it. Now, that's not to say that, you know, someone isn't going to get cancer or have some, you know, medical condition. But I firmly believe that the choices we make really have an impact on our overall well-being. So I think it's the choices that we make that determine our state of wellness.
And what I usually say, and what I say, Heidi, often is we make choices all the time.
Yeah, thousands of them every day.
Some people say we don't make choices, but if you think you're not making a choice, you're actually making a choice, not making a choice.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm very for deliberate choices.
Me too.
To consciously choose very carefully what it is we want to bring into our life. Otherwise, we'll be bringing into things into our life unconsciously. So
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and I mean, this is just a little aside, but related, that I eat plant-based, and I have been doing that since May of 2017. And I still have people, that say to me, I don't see how you do it. Or they think that it's, odd that I do it. And what I don't know, what I say to people who say, I don't know how you do it, I say to them, it really isn't that difficult, because I made up my mind that that was what I was going to do, because from the reading and research I did, that's what I believe is best for my health. So it wasn't easy for me, it wasn't hard for me to give up meat and dairy and all those other things, because I made that decision and that conviction. And I don't think it's odd at all that, I chose that and that's what I do. And I want to be healthy, and I don't want to get cancer again or some other thing. So I don't eat a lot of the same stuff that other people do, but they would probably feel better too if they ate differently. You know what I mean? So to me, it's all about, again, it's that awareness and the choices we make. And for me, it was like, well, which would I rather have? Do I want to keep eating bacon, which I really loved? Or do I want to, feel good and potentially, live a healthier life? Well, there was no competition there. That was not, it was such an easy decision to make. So, I think a lot of it comes down to choices and what your end result is for yourself, what you're looking for, what you want. So then it's like, well, what are you willing to do then to get that?
As you say, making a choice and making the decision. A lot of people avoid actually making a solid decision. Decision is the first thing we do. But then to actually, as you say, when we changed, and I have also gone to eating predominantly plant-based, and also coming from a background of dairy. Sweden is the biggest dairy and meat country. It is not easy at the start to change habits. Of course, we're leaving our comfort zone and we're doing something differently. It requires a bit of learning, but it very much requires us to just stay on the action and stay on that decision to do it for a length of time until we have kind of adopted new habits, and also feel the shift. It takes a while to feel the shift, doesn't it?
And again, I would say if you're struggling, then find other people who are doing the same thing that you are. And that's easier these days too, because, there are the social media platforms, and there are lots of ways to connect with people who aren't in your physical area to, again, help and support one another on their journey. Makes it a little easier.
Yeah, and I guess when we're faced with any challenges in life, whatever that may be, it might be divorce or whatever, where we found ourselves in a position where our friends' network all of a sudden sort of changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that too, that through your challenge that maybe first of all you found out who were truly your friends, your close ones, or did you find new people that you know, did anything change for you, Heidi, in terms of that?
I'm going to say I'm very blessed in that area, because the people who are surrounded, the people who, how am I going to word it? Sorry. My family and friends and the people in my community were very supportive, and I didn't lose anybody, or not that I can think of. No, that all kind of stayed the same. And if anything, I've gained some new connections because of my breast cancer journey. Just in the last year, I met some, one woman in particular, I met through Facebook, and we correspond weekly now. And I'm actually going to have a face-to-face with her, a Zoom on Friday, because she's struggling with weight loss. And I'm like, well, do you want some help? Because I'll help you out. So if anything, I've gained some new relationships through my journey, and I haven't really lost anybody. So I feel very, grateful and very blessed in that sense, because I think some people do. And I think it can be very close, someone who they're very close to. I've heard stories, and I feel terrible for those people, because that's when you really need support, is when you're going through a tough time.
Yeah, it sounds for sure that you've been very blessed, and maybe it's a little bit different too when someone goes through something like divorce or something like that. Maybe a little bit different, because
I think so.
That? Yeah. So you obviously changed your diet. I know you, as me, really love using essential oils too. I'm just thinking, were there other things in life when you got that, you found out that you had cancer, that you started adopting, or you made a decision to shift anything else in your life at all?
Well, with the introduction of oils is also, I eliminated all kind of chemical products from my home, which I didn't really have a lot anyway, because I was a little self-conscious of that anyway, but definitely I'm more aware of that, both in my home and when I go other places. And then the diet, that came about because of a lecture I attended on diet and breast cancer that was given by Thomas Campbell. He and his father wrote the China study. And then I guess maybe being a little bit more convicted to the exercise. I always exercised anyway, but now, because of what I went through and my mindset doing that, I can convince myself more easily that I'm capable of doing certain things. So I've started, I'll go for a month. Like last month, I didn't drink any caffeinated coffee, just as a test to say that, I could do it. In November, I did a run or walk a mile every day, every month, or every day in November. And so, like those just little kinds of things like that. And then, again, I think the mindset work and all of that, very different. Journaling and, really thinking about my life, what I want. I never really set goals before. I kind of, like you mentioned earlier, kind of get caught up in the day-to-day stuff. And I realized I was never a goal setter. And so learning at the age, I'm still learning at 50, well, not quite 55, but I will be like, okay, this is how you set a goal and then break it down. Like that was foreign to me. So learning and constantly learning and reading and finding out new things and getting in touch with myself. Those are all definitely things that are a result of that. And that's, again, why I really am grateful that I got cancer, because I know if I hadn't, would not be where I am today with a lot of the positive things that have happened in the last, 4 years. They wouldn't have happened.
Mm.
Yeah.
And isn't that amazing that you can see the good thing out of the bad thing and then move forward from there, and how much it's obviously given you. And it's incredible. You're talking about goals there, and that you didn't used to kind of be as thinking about goals, and that made me think about asking you, what is one of your biggest dreams? Have you got a big dream looking forward now that you'd like to?
Well, it's funny that you ask that, because to me that's right up there with the goals that I never dreamed or had goals, and part of it could be because I didn't think that they were ever attainable, or I don't really know why, but I guess I don't really have a lot of big dreams, but I would like to travel more than I have. And I actually did a new vision board at the beginning of the year, and a couple things that I put on there. I really want to go to Greece. I don't know why, just the food and everything. So I would like to travel there. And Holland, I want to go to Holland. I love flowers. That's probably why I had a flower shop for 23 years. I mean, I love color. I love flowers. And I just want to be out in the middle of a huge field of tulips in Holland. And I just think that would be like heaven to me. I want them to be orange, but no, I'm just kidding. But I really want to be out in a field of flowers. So some traveling types of things, and to be able to spend quality time with friends and family. We usually, my husband and I, when we travel, we usually do go with friends. And so to do more of that, I mean, I really enjoy the company of others. And again, the camaraderie, laughter, and just enjoying the company of others. So I guess, the big things would be mostly traveling. And my business, I mean, I guess if I'm going to be honest, that I really, I don't know, people I think I'm crazy to be starting a new business after I retired from doing something for so long, but I really feel like I'm meant to serve. That's the other part of it. I do feel I'm meant to share my journey and be to help other people on their wellness journey. If I can be an inspiration to anybody or help anyone, I just really feel called to do that, which I didn't before either. I think I was very centered on myself. And so that's a whole new thing. So yeah, I guess that's part of it too. It's just I'd like to be able to help a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then give. I wrote a list down of all the different charities and things that I would like to be able to give to make a difference. Yeah. Maybe that's it. I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference in other people's lives. I really do.
And it's the thing, as you were saying, I think often we can get caught up in ourselves and our own problems or our life, and we're so sort of little in that funnel vision of that small thinking, rather than stepping out and really stepping into our soul purpose. And I think that I really truly believe that we're here on earth to discover our true soul purpose or our passion. And once we find that passion, if we don't step into actually the role of helping other people, or stepping into that role of serving what we're meant to, be here for, then, we're probably playing a little bit small.
And you know what? It can happen at any age. I was always envious of people that knew. I had a friend that knew in junior high school that she was going to be a dentist. And by God, she's a dentist. And she knew it from then. And I didn't know what I wanted to do or be. And I think it's okay. You don't have to put pressure on yourself to know either, or feel bad if you don't know and somebody else does, because it could happen at any time. I mean, for me, it took till I was 50 and had cancer for me to realize, you know what I mean? I have said this before too. I wish I'd gotten cancer when I was younger, because that's when the change happened. And who knows if it would have, but I've thought about that I wish that it could have happened sooner, so that I could have started living the way I'm living now longer ago.
That's hindsight, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that there's something in why we don't allow ourselves to dream big, or and that's obviously can be due to so many things. But when it comes down to it, it's obviously our own limitations or interpretations or our conditioning that will hold us back from that somehow. And I guess it's a beautiful day when we realize that we can dream and we can create a new reality, and start living that way. Perhaps a little bit more balanced life. So I mean, talking about balance now, Heidi, I mean, obviously you really got the health part of your life kind of, that's really, really important. But when we talk about all the other parts of your life, how do you feel? How do you feel about, do you feel your life is pretty balanced now, or in terms of the different areas?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. And I think it's really difficult to be balanced in all areas at the same time. To me, I feel more of it's like an ebb and flow type of thing. And I would say, I mean, the physical part, so let's see, like the exercise, the eating, even like I would say the spiritual and the mindset kind of stuff, that's all pretty well balanced right now. I mean, it's like you said, some days, maybe not so much with the mindset and everything, and everybody has bad days. But for me, I'm going to say it's going to be like the occupational part and the career and business and work part that's where I'm not where I want to be. And I know it's going to take time. I haven't been real patient, but when you start something, it's like we've been talking about all along. When you start something new, it takes a while, and you try things, and some things work and some things don't work. So then you try something else, and keep moving forward and learning. And if you don't try, you never know if it'll work or not. So to me, it's not really failure per se. But I would say right now, I mean, that's where I'm out of balance in my own mind. I'm not really where I want to be.
But you're trying
to picture the wellness wheel and figure out what areas am I missing.
But you're very well aware of when something gets a little bit out of balance, would you say?
Yes.
You notice that. And I guess that's an important part. It's not about being 10 out of 10 in all parts of our life, because life is not about that, is it? It's about really navigating through and then working on the areas where you feel you need to kind of put a little bit more time and effort in, like when you were hit with your cancer, that you had to put a little bit more focus on there. Now maybe you will find it's more work related, for example, and life is all about balance. It's a balance act, isn't it? It's like riding a bike, we got to try to keep that balance. Yeah.
And I think, like you said, to me it's the self-awareness and recognizing, because yes, when I had cancer, that was it. That's what I focused on. That's all I could. You know what I mean? So for whatever, 6 months or 8 months or whatever it was, it's like, that was my focus. And a lot of other things went by the wayside because they had to. But yeah, I think you're right. It's the awareness of when things are going on to say, okay, things are a little out of whack over here. So, do I need to take care of them now, or is it more important that I'm focusing, over here? You know what I mean? And I think it's important because a lot of times I do think we go through life with blinders, and everybody's different, but you're just so focused on the day-to-day, everyday stuff that you have to do that you kind of lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah. It's easy to do, and that's when it's helpful to slow down and become a little bit more mindful, and I guess assess, do regular assessment of where we are in life and how am I feeling? Am I happy with how I'm going in certain areas? And that's myself. I'm very much I do like setting some goals or having dreams and goals, because otherwise I don't have that kind of thing that I can measure how I'm going either with the different areas. And then obviously if we feel we need some help, we can reach out to people that are obviously focusing on that area you need a little bit more help with. So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because people shouldn't be afraid to ask for help, regardless of what area we're talking about. But don't be afraid to ask somebody to help you. And if one person says no, then go look for somebody else. Or if you need, a therapist or, whatever it is. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. And another thing that I was thinking about when you were just talking is to be aware of outside influences too, and protect yourself from a lot of the negative that is out there. News or people who are toxic or, whatever. And that's just another form of awareness. But when you're hearing all those things or absorbing other people's negativity, it affects you. And so to also be aware of that. And we're so in tune to all of the, electronics and the social media and all of that kind of thing, to just to be aware of how it affects you and make conscious decisions of maybe not engaging in certain activities or whatever, because it can really have an impact on you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to become distracted in a very busy world at the moment. And I know at the start of the journey of the health, the situation that's going on in the world at the moment, I said right at the start, and my intuition was, this is going to be an inward journey. And I remember actually going down to a beautiful beach, and I was there early in the morning, and I was doing a little bit of filming, and I was talking about that this is a time to just go within rather than and I think that's a big challenge for a lot of people, because we are being bombarded with so much stuff from media and phones and everything. We literally have become so disconnected from shall I say, first of all, body, but also our spiritual side to a certain extent, that it's how many people sit in silence these days and really kind of really confront their own feelings and thoughts. There's people that do it, but there's a lot of people that avoid it because it can be quite confronting as well.
I agree. And I think that the slowing down is really important. And it needs to be a conscious decision to do that, because our world is just fast and everybody expects to have everything immediately. And it's like, if somebody sends you a text and you don't respond for an hour, or longer, is that going to be a bad thing? Yeah, you know what I mean? We've just gotten so that everything, and it's like, we're bombarded, and that's just, we're not really made for that. I don't think anyway. I think all of that stimulation constantly, I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's like we kind of being taught that if we got to get something, we get it straight away. Literally a click of a button, we get it. But that's not really exactly how it works. If we're going to transform our body or transform anything in our life, there's usually a little bit of time lag there from setting the intention and setting the goal, and then we got all the action, and then we got to get through all the obstacles until we get to that final destination. It's maybe not as easy as just click of the button. Although we can feel that we're already there, though. We can all believe. It's obviously really important that we believe that we can do it.
It is. Yeah, visualization.
Yeah, it's
visualization is also huge. Picturing yourself already at your goal, but then while you're getting there, I mean, patience is a good thing to have also, and with yourself, because you're right. I mean, changes and things aren't going to happen overnight. We would like them to, but they really don't.
No, so that's I believe is a really, really important skill. It's to learn to be patient and have perseverance as well. To really just that's a very, very important skill set.
I agree.
And when we're faced with any obstacles, we've got a choice if we got to go around it or go over them or whatever we do, rather than just that's it, that's the end, this was not meant to be. Some people, I feel, use that phrase a little bit, but it wasn't meant to be. And I think, well, maybe that was not meant to be, or maybe are you telling yourself that it wasn't meant to be? Do you understand what I mean? Maybe they use that as partly as an excuse to not deal with what's coming their way, and they simply thought, it's too hard, so the universe told me it's not meant to be. Well, maybe you're actually telling yourself that, and if it's something you really want, maybe it would be a good idea to explore that a little bit further, rather than
there might be another way to do it, a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a bit to transform your wellness and transform your life.
It does,
doesn't it? Yeah,
it sure does.
And we certainly covered a lot during a little bit over an hour here.
Yeah,
Heidi,
this was fun.
And I'm sure a lot of the listeners to this will get a lot out of it. And as I'd like to thank you very much for
thanks for having me.
Would love to get to know you a little bit more. And if any of the listeners here would like to get in contact with us, we will definitely make sure you got the information to that. So thank you very much, Heidi, for joining me
thanks
today.
for having me, Karen.
Okay,
it was a lot of fun.
All right, thank you. Bye.